Hello, sports history fans. I'm Ross from the podcast Pigskin Tales. You're about to jump into another thrilling sports history moment, but first, let's dive into today's sponsor, just in time for the holiday season. Introducing Art of Words, the brainchild of word artist Dan Duffy from Philadelphia. Dan meticulously crafts stunning images by handwriting relevant words from some of the greatest sports moments in time. These unique budget-friendly illustrations are the perfect gift, sparking cherished memories and capturing hearts. Choose from city skylines, sports, history, and musicians to find a piece for everyone. And here's the exciting part. For that sports fanatic in your life, gift them a piece of their favorite team or player's history. Art of Words tells a compelling story. Explore collegiate stadiums, each meticulously crafted with every football victory etched into words. Or venture into baseball stadiums, handwritten with every player from the team's illustrious history. My favorite on the site is Bryce Harper 2021 MVP year. Because I'm a big stats guy, I think that's one of the coolest things ever. Check it out. Don't wait. Order a print today for yourself and your loved one this holiday season. Transform your wall into a gallery of captivating art and surprise your family and friends with a print of their own. Use code SHN15 at artofwords.com for a 15% discount on your order in November and December. Visit Art of Words, where words magically transform into stunning art, evoking cherished memories and touching the hearts of those who you care about. Again, use the code SHN15 for 15% off at artofwords.com.
One of the more famous plays of late in the NFL is Philly's short yardage play referred to as the Tush Push. This play has a high conversion rate, but is it really safe for the players, and should it be legal? We'll examine the play and the rules of history to help make an informed opinion of the strategy and what the NFL should do next. All this is coming up in just a moment.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history on a day-to-day basis. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time. So as we come out of the tunnel of the Sports History Network, let's take the field and go no huddle through the portal of positive gridiron history with pigskindispatch.com.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your...
Hello, my football friends. This is Darren Hayes of pigskindispatch.com. Welcome once again to the Pig Pen, your portal to positive football history. In this edition, we are going to look at one of the more famous plays in the National Football League. It's trending wildly right now, especially with the Philadelphia Eagles. It's most famously known as the Tush Push or the brotherly shove, that short yardage play by the Philadelphia Eagles. But before we do, let's make sure that you're aware of our newsletter. We have a newsletter that comes out each and every day about 6:30 a.m. Eastern, totally free to sign up for it. You can cancel at any time. Real easy to sign up for. Just go to the show notes of this podcast, the top of Pigskin Dispatch or jerseydispatch.com, and you'll know all of the day's events that we're reporting on in the Jersey Dispatch and Pigskin Dispatch realm, as well as our podcast and some great podcasts and some information from some of our friends on sports history. It's a dispatch of sports history, and it's yours for free every single day in your email inbox. Now, first of all, let's describe what is the brotherly shove. Well, the Philadelphia Eagles have used their talented personnel, including quarterback Jalen Hurts, to create and perfect a seemingly unstoppable method of dealing with short yardage plays. The shove is a unique offensive play where one of the offensive linemen, typically the center or guard, sometimes both of them, and in particular Jason Kelce, the center of Philadelphia, well, they fire out low at a defensive opponent to take away their leverage. Just take the legs right out from under them so they can't have much push back as a strong quarterback, Jalen Hurts. And a backfield teammate, sometimes multiple teammates, are behind the quarterback, pushing him through the pile, just giving an extra surge. as soon as that play begins. That subtle push in unison is intended to help the quarterback gain a slight advantage in timing and positioning, allowing him to execute the play more effectively and thus penetrating the line to gain, in this case, to get the first down for Philadelphia. Now, the phrase brotherly shove is often used lightheartedly and reflects the camaraderie and teamwork among the Eagles' offensive players, and they are very good at running this particular maneuver. In an October 27th, 2023 article found on Marca.com, the Eagles center, Jason Kelsey, claims that they run this in practice a lot and they're highly successful, and that the Tush Push success rate, in fact, was successful 41 out of 44 attempts since 2022 when it was adopted by the Eagles. It has since been gone on to be acknowledged as the most successful play in football. 93.5% of the time it is run by the Eagles. Now, other teams are not finding the same success as this because the Eagles just have the personnel, a very thick and strong, adaptable quarterback who's really good at squeezing through and finding gaps in between bodies as his opponents are good at pushing him through, and it's very effective. Now, people may say, well, is this a legal play in the NFL? Well, obviously they're running it time after time, and the officials are letting them do it. And actually, that Tush Push play became legal in the NFL in the year 2005. Now, for decades, the practice was an illegal football activity, and technically it still is at the high school level under the illegally aiding the runner enforcement of 5 yards, where you cannot push, pull, or otherwise assist the runner in gaining yardage or keeping his balance. That's a penalty. The runner has to stay on his own 2 feet and gain yardage on his own. You can block out in advance legally, but you cannot push, pull, or otherwise influence that run. Now, one of the more famous instances of this play back in 2005, which maybe led to the adoption by the NFL to make it legal, was the famous Bush Push in the USC Notre Dame game in 2005. And if you remember, that was a very close contest. USC got down to the 1 yard line late in the game at Notre Dame's stadium, and the handoff was to Reggie Bush, who went through the line. It was sort of stuffed at the line, and Matthew Leinart, the quarterback of the Southern Cal team, got behind him and pushed him through to advance Reggie over the goal line, and thus for a USC touchdown, which won the game for the Trojans on that day. But there is some precedence in football of why this particular style of play is illegal. So let's look at that. We've seen the successes and we see where it's come from and sort of this phenomenon that's been developing for the last couple decades. But we forget that almost 120 years ago, the rules makers of the American football game banned a very similar activity. It was called the flying wedge, really a product of Harvard's coach, Lauren Deland, who came up with this play to combat Yale, who was having so much success in the 1890s under the tutelage of Walter Camp as their head coach. Well, Deland's flying wedge would be a play where there'd be a mass momentum play where we have an image of it being demonstrated back in the day on Pigskin Dispatch from a Wikipedia page, but they would make a formation almost like a triangular or arrow shape with a runner in the middle and just have a focal point player that they would try to hit in the line and make a penetration. So it was a mass momentum play where everybody's blocking in the same direction at the same point of attack, very similar to what our play is today. And people were getting hurt. So the rules makers in 1906 and even earlier were trying to ban the mass momentum play, and the flying wedge in particular was banned in 1906 at that famous rules meeting after President Theodore Roosevelt interceded and brought in the rules makers into the Oval Office to try to save football, and he, in essence, did open the game up a little bit, make it not as brutal. But that was part of the brutality of that game, was these mass momentum plays and wedge plays that would just be a focal at the point, and just mass on mass, body against body, grinding it out, hitting low, doing everything he could to gain a yard. So that's what we're coming back to, really, with the Tush Push. Now, one of the main reasons for the ban on the flying wedge back 120 years ago, it was too powerful. The sheer force of the wedge was often too much for defenders to handle, and they would be easily bowled over. This led to several injuries, including broken bones and concussions. In some cases, players were even trampled to death. In addition to the risk of injury, the flying wedge also made the game less competitive. The play was so effective that it was almost impossible to stop, giving a team a significant advantage, and this made the game less fair and less exciting for fans. For these reasons, the flying wedge was banned from American football in 1906, and the ban helped to make the game safer, more competitive, and opened it up with a little bit more offensive excitement and a sport more enjoyable for fans. So doesn't that sort of describe, the flying wedge's description, describe what's happening in this brotherly shove, tush push type short yardage play? I think it does, and I think somebody is going to get seriously hurt. Maybe it's a defender. Possibly it could be an offensive player. Maybe it's a quarterback. I mean, remember, he's got some big dudes behind him pushing with all their might against big dudes pushing the other way, and he's sort of that peanut butter and jelly in the middle of that sandwich getting squished all over the place. Could be a quarterback that gets hurt in the play. And it's just not good for the game, and I hope to see that the rules makers, the competition committee of the NFL in particular, take a closer look at this in the offseason, not changing it in the middle of the season, you can't do that, and not saying that the quarterback sneak should be legalized, but aiding the runner by pushing, pulling, turning, forcing him through the line with teammates, just a little bit too much. And hope it's something they do before somebody gets seriously hurt. That's our commentary for today. It adds a little bit of history of the game and tells you where we've come and where we can go with the game of American football. Hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join us next time as we talk about some more great football history. Until then, have a great Gridiron Day. That's all the football history we have today, folks. Join us back tomorrow for more of your football history. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.
Have you ever noticed that the lower jaw is not protected in sports? Did you know that 10,800 concussions will happen today? This has been an upward trend for the past 50 years. I'm Dr. Michael Hutchison, a practicing neuromuscular dentist. When my son wanted to participate in football and rugby, I was afraid he was going to get a concussion. That fear led me to finding the missing link to reducing concussions. The fact is, the only part of the skull that is not protected in sports is the lower jaw. If you want to drastically reduce concussions, there are 3 basic jaw positions that affect concussions, and 2 of them are not good. The correct one is called physiologic jaw position. It will dissipate the force away from the brain. Knowing that, I designed an appliance that put my son's jaw in the right place, and as a result, he was concussion-free from 5th grade all the way to senior year. This jaw position takes those 10,800 concussions today down to 28. It's the key to concussion protection. As a parent, this is what you need to know. It's extremely important that the device you are using is on the lower jaw. Thickness of the device is important. Most importantly, it must position and hold you in your own unique personal physiologic jaw position. So if your child goes out on the field with the correct jaw position, your son or daughter will not one of those 10,800 concussions today. Get yours today at powerplusmouthguard.com. Use the promo code POWERUP2023 for 10% off.